camera movement. We're just going to give it just a second for Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to get sort of synced up and going on this live stream. But we're excited to be here. Hopefully you're with us in our last stream with Valentina V and Aperture. So if you missed it, you can see that on Instagram in our IGTV. So that's where it will live, and it was a lot of fun. She gave tons of great advice about different ways to light, types of lights to use, ways to use those lights, why lights are certain ways. And so I learned a lot, and I think that you will as well. So like I said, if you haven't seen it, be sure to go back and check that out. So yeah, this is week 5 of Your Story Matters, and this is a special week for this campaign. If you haven't been following this all the way along, Your Story Matters is all about you and taking stories that you submitted, and we turned it into a narrative film. And now we are going to be producing that film and showing you how to do it all along the way. So very, very exciting. We've talked with many great influencers and filmmakers since the beginning of this campaign. I've personally learned so much. We just had that stream with Valentina V from Aperture, and she gave us a ton of great tips on how to improve our lighting and what we can do to take it to the next level, what to be using in certain situations, and how to create certain effects. So we're excited to apply some of those concepts starting really right away. So our first day of principal photography for this campaign starts tomorrow. You can see here our set's a little bit different than where we normally do these streams from, and that's because we are streaming on location where we will be filming. So the first thing that I want to do in this stream, because we're going to be talking about camera movement, you need to understand the layout of your space, what you have available, because oftentimes the moves that we do with a camera, first, they should always be motivated. They should have a reason of why we're doing that move. And second, you need to know logistically how much space you have to be able to pull off certain shots and certain types of shots with various types of gear. So we'll talk about what type of gear we'll be using, why we'll be doing those shots, and how we'll be able to achieve some of those in this space. So I'm going to flip this camera around. We're going to go mobile. So I'll give you a quick tour. So we have this little entryway. I don't think we'll really do anything with this. We actually may end up staging all of our gear here. That's an important thing to keep in mind whenever you are doing a shoot, is to have a space to be able to put all your gear. Currently, we just got to this space right before these streams, so it's a little bit of an organized mess right now, but this is one of the main rooms that we'll be doing some filming in. So we have this really nice, fun fireplace. It's an old wood burning one. This home was built in I believe the early 1900s, so it's old for sure. So that comes with a lot of fun things, and there's been updates obviously over time, but we have all these textured panels on the wall. It's got this wood grain, but it's been updated a bit and painted white. We've got the same type of texture on the ceiling, but this is more of a bead board, so it's a long lines that'll create some vanishing points if we film, similar to this, where it's all going into that point, gives a lot of good depth. That's one of the things we talked about with Valentina, about creating depth and really getting that background in your shots. One of my favorite things about older homes is you're going to get a lot of these really fun built-ins. Furniture was, I don't know if it's just more expensive or harder for people to get in the periods that these homes were built, but they integrate a lot of that into the space just to clear up hallways and different things. So this will be a fun shelf that we're going to restage with some different things, because our theme is around space. We have a lot of space sort of artifacts, if you will. This is going to be a poster that will go. So our protagonist, his name is Owen. We're going to be filming a flashback when he's young. This is going to be one of the pieces of artwork in his room. So a good solar system space set up there. I've got a great moonshot here. And one of my favorite things too about this space, we have all these archways, and they'll give this space a lot of fun character. Moving on, going back this way, we've got 2 different bedrooms. So we will have some scenes in the bedroom, and so that will come into play. We're going to figure it out a little bit more and pick the space that will be best for these various moves. And there's bedroom number 2. We do have one downstairs as well. We won't check it out for this stream, but in this fun bathroom, right? There's talking about texture again. We've got sort of all things here. We've got the fun floor. We've got more built-ins for storage things. And I don't know if you can pick this up all the way, but the fun thing about an older home is it's just got so much history, right? So there's layers and layers of paint, and it creates those paint strokes with the brush, and it just shows sort of the age of the place, and more fun tiling and archways for that shower. So all in all, this is going to be a great location. Images, as we know, can be hard versus like seeing what it is in reality. So the kitchen's going to be an important thing. The reason I bring that up, the images make everything look so big. They were taken obviously with very wide angle lenses to really enhance the space and make it feel very spacious. But in reality, it's a pretty tight home. So it's limited square footage, which in talking about, you know, setting up different gear and filming and moving around makes it challenging. But it's totally doable with the size crew that we'll have. We're going to be running a smaller crew and keeping things you know, nice and tidy. So the reason I've got this frame, this is an important portion of what we'll be doing. So we want our main character to feel almost distant and sort of trapped at the beginning. He, as we've talked about before, he's recently lost his father, and we just are introduced to him as we find out he's lost his job. And so we're going to be sort of away in the feeling of observing him, and then sort of doing a push in, and that brings us into his space, but we feel sort of this trapped enclosure, and we can achieve this multiple ways. This could obviously be done with a gimbal. If it's a longer you know, longer walk, you have that span to do. For us, we don't need a ton of movement, so we're going to do it with the Evo slider. So that's we're going to use the 24-inch rails from Rhino. I love that slider because of a lot of reasons, like we've talked about here, right? The space is tight, and so you got to be considerate about how and where you do things. Now, if you have the 42-inch rails or, you know, any form of longer slider, you're going to need multiple stands to support that. One of the reasons I love the 24-inch rails is you can get a really sturdy shot by using a great, you know, as long as you have a sturdy tripod in the middle, you can mount those rails. And so it takes up a much smaller amount of space. And so you still get that effect of pushing in or pulling out. Another great thing, depending on your focal length, most often, if you're filming, you know, with longer rails, you need to use a tighter focal length so that you don't physically see the rails at the beginning or end of your shot. So with the 24s, you have a lot wider range to use different focal lengths, and you don't have that concern as much about running into getting those rails into the shot. So that's one of the reasons that if you're doing a really long shot like they do in movies, if you want a long dolly shot, that's why it's on a dolly. And even with that, in most movies, they're having to paint those tracks out depending on the way that shot was done. So there's so many things to consider when you're doing something just so simple. As I'm sitting here where our lead will be sitting when we start filming tomorrow, another one of the shots we want to do is going to be fairly technical. So I'm excited to get this one done, and it's going to be with him sitting. So we're going to approach this shot one of two ways. We're definitely going to get some shots from his side profile. I love that because it sort of feels like you're just really seeing that person in a unique way, where you're getting it's almost like you're seeing into that person. And so I love those types of shots where you can do that. But the other shot that I want to do is coming up actually up from behind. So he's sitting here and he's feeling overwhelmed. One, because he's got this table that's going to be covered with some medical bills that exist from his father that recently passed away. He helped take care of him towards the end of his life. And so he's now got the responsibility to pay those off as the last person in the family. Now, the difficult thing about that is he just found out that he lost his job. So we get an alert from him on his phone, and we see this email. And the way that I want to sort of introduce that email and this notion of all these bills is with an overhead shot that's actually a push in as well. So we're going to rig a combination of things to be able to get the slider actually inverted, and we'll use the ARC2 unit to be able to do two things. We want to both push in, so have a motorized slide so it's nice and smooth, but we also want to tilt down to get that nice overhead approach, and be seeing basically, we're almost getting to that first person point of view. It goes from an OTS to right over what he's doing, and so an OTS being over the shoulder. So we get that and everything's laid out, and so it'll be a lot of fun to push these different methods and use the equipment in fun and unique ways. So throughout this stream is just, you know, us talking here about camera movement. So if you have any questions, be sure to hit them up in the comments. I'll do my best to address those as we go along here. We do have an amazing sponsor for this episode, and that sponsor is Moza. Moza makes some great gimbals. They have a wide variety of gimbals for different size cameras, different payloads. And so today's giveaway is going to be a Moza Aircross 2. So check out their website. Let me actually pull that up. So the name of the company that sells these gimbals or creates these gimbals is Gudsen, GUDSEN.com. So again, that URL is GUDSEN. Be sure to hop on their website, pull it up in either another tab, or, you know, if you're watching this on your phone, go to a computer and get that up. We're gonna have a trivia question for around these gimbals, and so you can prepare yourself now so that when that trivia question comes here in just a little bit, you'll be ready. So this is a great piece of gear. It comes in a nice case. It's, you know, it's a zipper case that's a hard clamshell. And so you get everything in there that you need to go and get those smooth gimbal shots. So we'll actually be using that gimbal on our set tomorrow. We're going to have our behind the scenes camera on that, just to be able to have that person be able to move around, get smooth shots, and do everything that they need to, and have a really fun sort of backstory behind the scenes to this production. So we're excited to be releasing that later on as well. So best way to stay in touch on all of these projects in this whole campaign is to like, follow, and subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed to our channels, please do so. And we really hope that this content is beneficial to you. Many of you have reached out saying that it is, and we appreciate that so much. And so if there are more filmmakers in your circles that aren't aware of this campaign, we'd really appreciate it if you reached out to them and shared this information. The full schedule for the rest of this campaign can be found on yourstorymatters.rhinocameragear.com. And that landing page or microsite, whatever you want to call it, has so many great things to offer for you. So you get to see all the things that we've done thus far on the schedule page. We're linking that. So if you've missed it, you can go back, watch things. Number two, you get to see all the gear that we're using on the shoot and the sponsors who have helped make this possible, and also the great giveaways that they've been doing throughout this campaign and throughout these live streams. And then number three, we have a lot of free resources on there, from shot list templates to you know, location and talent releases, as well as other things to get you started. You know, starting a production is one of the hardest things, but once you have that idea and you're focused on it, there can be a lot of things that can get lost in the weeds. These resources are there to help you and guide that production to be as productive and efficient as possible. So we'll also be posting those same templates that we've been using, so you can see an example of how it can be used. And once you get those, feel free to modify them, do whatever you want, do whatever works best for you. We've even done that a little bit for this production as some needs have changed. So hope it's helpful, and if it is, spread the word, like I said, and we'll get more people involved and in front of those. So we're not just going to be doing slider shots the whole time. As much as we love the Evo slider and everything else that goes with that, with the ARC2 unit and it's a fantastic piece of gear, and I'm saying that obviously with a lot of bias here, as I've just used that over the years. It's been really great to get these smooth shots that are really cinematic. And so, but too much of a good thing is just too much sometimes. So like I talked about in the beginning, each movement that you have needs to be motivated. And so I've worked closely with our DP, Drew. He'll actually be getting here in just a little bit as we prep for tomorrow. And we have a reason for why there's a move for each thing. And we've talked about some of these shots with you over the past couple of days on these streams. So we have some of these dolly ins or pull outs with the slider that we'll be doing. We'll also be doing a lot of static shots. For Owen at this point in life, things are pretty challenging for him. And so we want to feel that, one, he's kind of in that trapped state, and two, his life isn't progressing forward in the way that he really wants. And so doing some like a montage of static shots to kind of establish that and show his surroundings, that will help build that idea of just being stationary. And then as he slowly gets inspired to make these moves and to go on this new path of self-discovery, we will get that camera moving more and more, and it will be in fun ways. And then sometimes the camera itself doesn't have to physically move, and this is going to sound weird. It doesn't have to physically move, or at least appear to move, to have a lot of movement. So you can be moving people around in your frame. There's so many great directors that just are masters of blocking and where the camera moves in relation to the people. So that's one way. Another way, I love doing static mounts on objects that are moving. For instance, we have Owen. He's going to be taking basically a road trip that's really spontaneous, and so he just gets up and decides to go and do this trip that him and his dad never had the chance to do, that his dad had been planning for a long time, but then had gotten sick and was unable to go through with it. So he's going to be doing that trip solo and be thinking about and have all these emotions going for him. And so we'll get to see that. So over that time, we need to show two things. We need to show, one, that it's not like he's just driving down the street to have this epic journey, right? For it to be a journey, there needs to be movement. It needs to get him to another place. And so we're going to be using a lot of shots. We're going to use a car mount to get shots of both interiors and exteriors, so that the camera itself will technically not be moving like from something like this, like a pan or a tilt or push in, or like on a gimbal or anything like that. The car will be moving, but so you'll see a lot of background movement, and that will create an interesting effect to just sort of pull you in right to where we want, which is into the emotion that Owen's experiencing as he goes along this drive. Another way to show distance really easily and cinematically nowadays is with the use of a drone. Drones are great. They've become much more economical, as we know, and much more capable in what they can do, both with their camera and with their speed and their accuracy of movement, and even the distance that they can fly. And so using all those things, we'll be doing some drone shots to show just the greater expanse of where he's at and show changes in scenery that way. And so looking forward to doing those types of moves as we get down to where he's actually going to be. The whole purpose of him going on this journey is to get away from the city, to be able to escape sort of the light pollution that surrounds almost all of us at any given time, to get to a place where he is more remote and he can experience the stars and nature the way that his dad loved and taught him to love. And so we'll be going to where the skies are clear and be able to get some great astrophotography. Really hope that the clouds and everything else cooperate with us on the days that we have slated. And we will do our best to capture some beautiful imagery there. But he's going to go on this hike as he gets down to our location, and we want that to be a lot of movement too. And so we're going to do a mixture of handheld shots as well as gimbal shots, and it will be a lot of fun. So like I said, if you have any questions about anything that we're doing or about camera movement in general, we'd love to hear it. And I'm gonna check here, see if we have anything coming in. Okay, so yeah, hit me up with any questions that you might have. We're gonna do the giveaway here in just a minute. So again, our sponsor for today is Moza. They make gimbals. Their parent company is Goodson. So, I hope I'm saying this properly. I apologize if I'm not. There's tomato, right? So Goodson, GUDSEN.com. Go there and check that out. So what we're giving away is going to be the Moza Aircross 2 gimbal. So it's a really cool gimbal, highly capable. And one of my favorite things about this gimbal is how light they were able to make it, right? As we've gone to these more single-handed or, the gimbals like we're used to, DJI created that Ronin S, and that sort of started this wave of gimbals in that category. And so this is similar to that, but anyone who's used a Ronin S knows that it's a pretty heavy gimbal in and of itself. And so the fun thing about this gimbal is that the gimbal itself only weighs 2 pounds or 950 grams. And so significantly lighter, and that makes just doing longer take shots, speaking of camera movement, makes it so much easier. And so the question that I have for you is, even though that gimbal is only 2 pounds, it may make it seem like a lightweight gimbal. What payload of camera can you put on that gimbal? So I need you to comment with the weight. It could be in kilograms or pounds. If you're really an overachiever, you can shoot me with both. Again, Goodson.com, GUDSEN.com. Check that out, and we'll get this winner here in just a moment. So as we look more around this space, and I'm actually going to flip the camera here. Ethan's here helping me out with the stream. He's going to call out. So Ethan, because we're mobile, it's a little harder to see these chats. If you have a question from the group, let me know, and that'll probably be the easier way. Also, let me know who the winner is, and we can go from there. So like we talked about earlier, with aperture, we've got the 120D Mark II. This is one of my favorite light modifiers here, the China ball that they have. Super affordable, and it's so fast to set up. You literally just push it down, those rods spring out, and there's a center set of rods that clip on to right inside that base, and it holds great and provides a really soft light as it wraps around. You can see just that one light is really filling that room. So this is going to be a fun spot to do those moves. Now, one important thing to keep in mind whenever you're filming in a location that's not yours. So now we're renting this Airbnb with permission to be able to film here. I like to take some pictures of the place beforehand so that if you end up moving any of the furniture, you can restore it back and just be respectful of the space. And also do things like, if you're going to have certain gear, really heavy gear, you can place down cardboard or other things, and then just make sure you're sandbagging everything to keep it from tipping. But we're going to take some more pictures of the space. Obviously, we have pictures of the listing itself, but then we'll be able to move some things around. One of the things that we talked about with Valentina was this desk here. It's going to be a sort of a key point where we actually see Terrence Owen's father writing a letter to him, and it's going to happen, but we're going to figure out where in the space it makes the most sense to have that. That will open up more opportunities for different camera moves, different angles, and so really looking to get that dialed in. How are we looking, Ethan? Do we have a winner? So let me look at it, and I'll tell you. I don't want to say it. That's it. Yeah, 3.2 kilogram payload, or 7 pounds. Now that's gonna work for almost all DSLRs. Now who was the first one there? I didn't even look. Okay, CE Labady. Is that on Instagram? Instagram. Thank you for watching, and we'll get that shipped out to you. Now, I need you to DM us, and we'll work out all the logistics and get it from there. Perfect. Okay, looks like we already got it, and we will make sure that that gets out to you. So excited for you to be using this gimbal, and thank you, Moza, for sponsoring this. It's going to be super helpful for us to have here on set and to be using as our behind the scenes camera setup and moving it around. So up to 7 pounds, that's going to work for almost all DSLR setups and lens combos that you can throw at it. You know, the tough thing with any gimbal is just finding that right balance point. So they've put in some unique ways to help ensure that you can get your cameras balanced. So they have a lot of great content on that, and the other great thing is balancing gimbals at this point is fairly universal, and so even if it's not directly from that manufacturer, you can see advice and tips on how to get your gimbal best balance. We actually had a bit of a struggle, so we're filming this with the Red Komodo, and which is going to be a lot of fun. That camera, one of my favorite things about it is its unique size. So sort of like the Z Cam, which has been out a little bit longer, it's a cube-based body where it's no bigger than 4 inches in any given direction. Now that makes it a great camera for the most part to balance on a gimbal because it's not super wide, and the sensor itself is centered directly in the body, top to bottom and left to right. And so you just have a much different balance point than a typical DSLR where you have the hand grip and battery in that side. Problem is though, is the combination of power and lens. And so depending on how you do it, we've tested it multiple ways, both with just the Canon BP batteries as well as a V mount. So using a power, like a D-tap cable coming from the camera and down to a V mount battery that we had on the gimbal. It's actually worked both ways, but we were able to get it to where we can now use the Laowa 12mm lens on front, that zero distortion lens that we talked about on Tuesday. It's a fantastic lens, really fun. But the one struggle I had initially with balancing it was that camera or that lens is very front heavy. It's got the wider diameter front barrel to it, and the build quality overall is just so high that it's just a heavier lens. And so we made some adjustments, and I ditched the V mount setup for that, and we went to the BP batteries. That allowed me to slide the camera a little bit back, and we got it all balanced. So looking forward to doing some shooting there. I'm going to keep overall the gimbal shooting on this project. It doesn't call for it as much as some other shots productions that I've done, but it'll be really fun when we do use gimbals on this production. So we're going to use a combination of just great static shots, other shots on a tripod where we're panning or tilting, or a combination of a pan and tilt, and then slider shots as well, both for more of a dolly effect. We'll use the real-time video slides, and then we're going to do time-lapse movement as well. So that will come into play when we're filming those stars and everything, and that it's just going to be so beautiful. I have the shot in my head, and I think that this is one danger as a filmmaker. We have these shots, and now it's just about being able to execute according to our vision. With the crew that we have, I'm more than confident that we'll be able to do that, and I'm so excited to be working with some very highly talented people. And I think that that's one of the great things to remember about filmmaking. It's not just about you and what you can do. There's always something to be learned. I learned several things, on each of these streams, and it's great to do that same thing with your network. So if you don't have people that are in film, there's so many great groups on socials. So try and find people in your area, and even if they're not in your area, you can lean on them for advice. I have tons of friends that I interact with almost on a weekly basis, if not more, about various things with camera gear, camera movement, and everything that we're talking about here today. So, find those people, expand that network, and hopefully as things settle down, you can go out and have some really unique productions with that group of friends and community. So I'm gonna call out to Ethan here one more time to thank you for all your help on these. Are there any questions that have come in that I've missed or need to address?
There was one or two about lighting that I think they missed the last
Yeah, and if you didn't hear that, because I guess I am using these headphones, so I'll repeat what Ethan just said. So some of the questions coming in were about lighting. We just had this great stream with Valentina V from Aperture, and she taught us so many different things. So please check that out. It's going to be on our story or in our Instagram TV on Instagram, go figure. And so check that out, and that's where that will live. And you can learn a lot from that. And if we didn't cover it there, just check Valentina's channel and Aperture's channel. There's so much great content. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for being here on this stream with us about camera movement. It's important to really be thinking about how, why, and when you're moving the camera, and make sure that it is motivated. I'm super excited to be doing these different things for this shoot in particular. The movement is very thematic and resonates with why, like, the camera's moving because of the emotion that we're trying to evoke. And so everything is very intentional. And so I'm excited for that. And I hope that that comes through in the final production. Either way, you guys will be the judge and will let us know. So thank you. And we'll see you here at 4. So right now I'm in Mountain Time. So at 4:30 Mountain Time, so that's about a half hour from now, we're going to be doing another stream with Rode, sorry, with our friends over at Rode. And we're going to be talking all things audio related to this production and just productions in general. So it'll be really fun. We're going to be talking to them here in 30 minutes. So we will have a great giveaway from them as well. If you have missed out on anything from this campaign, you can catch up on yourstorymatters.rhinocameragear.com, and you can get the full schedule and everything there. Of course, if you haven't, like, subscribe, follow, do whatever you need to make sure that you can be alerted about future streams and about this campaign and anything else that we're doing here at Rhino, because there's so much fun, exciting things coming down, and we want you to be a part of it. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.